Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of BLEAV In Bears. My name is Joey Christopoulos. Got a fantastic guest coming up to talk about Justin Fields, the Bears, and more. A lot to talk about with the 1-5 Chicago Bears, and especially Justin Fields, who, as we're taping this right now, we don't exactly know his injury status, but it's been a bumpy ride so far this season. So let's bring in a fantastic guest right here. He is, you can check him out at SimsCompleteQB.com. Follow him at SimsComplete. Former NFL quarterback himself, Matt Sims. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on, Joey. Glad to be here.
I don't want to bury the lead. We were talking pre-show that you are a former teammate of our co-host Corey Wooten.
Yes, Corey and I were teammates. I was a young sophomore getting my first varsity snaps ever in high school while he was one of the seniors of our football team. Fantastic football player. And, Corey's one of the great individuals that you come across in this game of football. He's an awesome person, and had the honor too of playing against him in a preseason game in the NFL too. So it was really an amazing story and an amazing person and great family. So miss him today, but hey, we'll do our best to fill in for him right now.
You'll definitely try to fill in the shoes. Just real fast, what was the junk food of choice? What was the go-to junk food for the high school team back in the day?
The junk food of choice, I don't know. I'm not the good one to speak. I was just a young sophomore at the time. So, I don't know what all the other cool kids on the varsity team were doing. I'm sure a few beers and stuff like that. The junk food, man, who knows? Probably like the classics, like the Fritos and the Cheetos and all that kind of crap.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show. We can't wait to maybe have you back sometime down the road and get you and Corey reunited and talk some ball. But so happy to have you here today. Obviously, the Chicago Bears season has not gone the way that a lot of us thought, especially here in the Bears community. So if you don't mind, for our audience here, just to start off, what was your expectation for Justin Fields coming into the season? And if you could maybe take us up to, what you've seen so far, whether that's been a disappointment or whether that's been up to your expectation.
Well, unfortunately for the Beardom out there, I really wasn't expecting much of anything from the Bears this year. And I hate to be that guy for you, but right now you're still just a team that is growing, that is still adding important pieces to it, that, clearly is still, there is some degree of separation between that tier 1 and tier 2 of the NFL teams right now. And there are still some pieces missing on the Bears roster that make it very difficult for them to be successful week in and week out. And, Justin Fields started the season very rocky. I was absolutely concerned about that. Wasn't really sure if there was going to be that growth that we all expected to see as far as a precision passer. But he has certainly turned that around the last 2 weeks and has looked a lot better. And, it really is unfortunate because I feel like once he kind of started to get a little bit better feel of the game and showed some improvements, here he gets banged up against the Vikings, hurts his thumb. So now he is going to be potentially, out maybe this week or for future weeks. And the thumb injury is very tedious and frustrating for quarterbacks. It's so important to just having a great feel and rhythm when you're throwing. And when your thumb hurts, it's absolutely going to affect your throwing and ultimately your decision-making too.
For the layman out there, I mean, obviously I've hurt my thumb before, and you know what? The funny part about it is that's what makes us humans. It's what separates us is the thumb. It's kind of an important part of the hand. So can you kind of break in a little bit when someone's dealing with a thumb injury now, as the taping this right now, he dislocated his thumb. The MRI has come back negative, but we don't know ligaments, torn ligaments, where, how, severity, all that kinds of stuff. But
Right.
As a former quarterback, can you just talk about what's the bigger issue? Is it a pain tolerance or is it a mobility issue when you're trying to deal with an injured thumb and throwing the football?
Yeah, I mean, well, one is just naturally when you're throwing the football, the grip. It will definitely be a disadvantage for him right now with just not being able to maybe apply the normal amount of pressure that he uses with his thumb when he's grabbing the football, right? And if he can't grab the football as confidently and as strong as he normally does, then, the ability to throw footballs with power down the field, which we've seen him do extremely well these past few weeks, those are going to be, limited now. Then also, too, just the confidence of throwing around a tight pocket. We've seen him under duress in multiple games this year. To throw around a lot of people near your throwing motion as you're following through, that is absolutely going to be something that you would be naturally hesitant on especially when you are trying to throw with power over the middle and down the field. So right now, the thumb injury, it's very frustrating. I've jammed my thumb multiple times while playing, and it is not a comfortable feeling. It definitely does slightly affect the way that you throw, or at least the accuracy and the spiral in which you can throw. And we know how important that is too with Chicago, especially with potentially weather and all that kind of stuff on your home field, that, you know, you really do need to have a good grip on the football, especially for that dry, windy air or when it does rain. So it's going to be something to look at. And the biggest thing is just the inflammation of it. How quickly does the inflammation go down for his thumb? And not only that, not like where he grips it with his thumb, but also just the surrounding area too, because that can affect how he holds the football and grips it too.
I mean, even like taking a snap, right? He's got to be like, he's got to be feeling it, right? Even on the snap.
Totally. That's another great example too that I wasn't even thinking of. And luckily he does a lot of stuff in the shotgun. And we saw Justin Herbert, the same thing, hurt his finger on his non-throwing hand. They said he didn't even have any snaps under center the entire week until the day of the game. So if Justin Fields does come back, hopefully sooner rather than later, that'll probably be something that they'll have to manage as well.
Yeah, his status is certainly up in the air heading into the Bears game against the Raiders this week. And then when he does return, hopefully he comes back as healthy as possible so we can, as Bears fans, get a read on the big question, Matt, of whether Justin Fields is the guy moving forward. I think a big part of the conversations around Bears Twitter and Bears fans this season has been the relationship, the give and take between him and Luke Getz, the offensive coordinator. I think as a fan, I think it's the easiest thing in the world to blame the play call and the offensive coordinator. Why don't they just let whoever fill in the blank cook? I think has been something that a lot of NFL teams can do. I'm not looking for you to assess blame or do a blame pie, but I just want you to talk a little bit about how important it is, the relationship is between the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator and the quarterback, what that give and take is like, and just how important that is that those two pieces are in lockstep to be as successful as you possibly can on offense.
If you look throughout the history of the NFL, and any time that you have a great quarterback, you are always going to say the counterpart of the offensive coordinator right after that. So it is as important as, you know, the democracy that we live in. You have to be able to work with each other. You might have conflicting views. You might see the game a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, it has to work for the benefit of the team and for those individuals, a part of it for the greater good. And there's been times where, you know, you can absolutely put blame on the offensive coordinator. You can put blame on the head coach, but there's also times too where you can equally put that blame on Justin Fields too. So that's, I think, one of the more frustrating things for fans and for quote unquote experts of the game too, is that, you know, no matter when you look at it, there's something different that you see and notice that just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look like it's cohesive. And, it's very frustrating, you know, as a fan at times, because you do see that raw talent. You do see the ability. You do see the focus of trying to get more talent around him. But for whatever reason, it just has not clicked yet. And the Bears are going to have to answer some tough questions. And this is what stinks about his injury. Now we're taking away opportunities for, you know, Bears fans, the scouts, everyone to really know more about what the product is on the field.
Because, Matt, as a Bears fan right now, I mean, as it stands, hopefully he does come back and plays, and then we can assess it at that particular time. But as we're looking at it right now, we kind of pretty much have two bad games, two really great games from Justin Fields. So if you want to debate either side of the ball right now of whether the Bears should move forward with Justin Fields, I think that there's plenty of ammo on both sides, and that leaves it in a really difficult place right now for the Bears organization.
Yeah, and the one frustrating thing too, I think, for fans out there is the fact that it came against the Commanders and the Broncos, and the Broncos right now have kind of shown that they're not exactly a balanced football team by any means. And then the Commanders, that happened on a Thursday night, and sometimes we do see those random one-off performances on Thursday night. Now, it was on the road. It was absolutely, I thought, his best performance throwing the football physically and decision-making. But yeah, it's just one of those frustrating takes. He has more reps right now as a unsuccessful quarterback than he does as a successful quarterback. And that's the reality of the situation. And it's by no means a final judgment of it. I tell people all the time that Geno Smith was a super talented football player when I was teammates with him at the New York Jets. We were just not clicking on the offensive side of the football, nor were we very talented on the offensive side of the football. But I knew this kid was a good football player. He kept getting opportunities, and now it's working out for him, Seattle. And for me, I see Justin Fields kind of in that same light. I think he has the ability to do it. I hope that he at least can fight through it and will his way into having a successful moment down the line in his future, whether it is with the Bears or in an opportunity with another team. But, we'll see.
Well, that's the big question here, Matt. We're talking here with Matt Sims here on BLEAV In Bears. Just a couple more for you here. That is the big question in your estimation right now, as it stands. Will Justin Fields find that success in a Bears uniform? Do you even think he'll be in a Bears uniform next year? As it stands right now, has he done enough to probably give them another look? Because, again, they're looking at possibly another top 5 pick from their own pick and maybe another top 5 pick from Carolina.
Well, if he is out for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to have that answer fulfilled in another way, because we're going to get an opportunity to see Tyson Badgett play, who is one of those players that Division III, All-American, all that. I've had a chance to work with him just once, this past offseason. And I was impressed by that young man and how he carried himself and how he performed on the field. So if Tyson comes out there and just absolutely crushes it these next 3 weeks, and it looks like this offense is working and firing on all cylinders, then that will answer a lot of questions, and it'll kind of be a lot of finger pointing after that too. Now, at the same time, Tyson is a rookie. I don't expect him to go out there and just light it up, but it should at least give us some indication as far as, is this offense really just poorly designed? Is this team flawed as far as just maybe not being athletic as they need to be on the offensive side of the football, defensive side of the football, and they're just a team that really is maybe 2 or 3 steps away from kind of getting to that next level of being a tier 2 team?
And something that, honestly, the Chicago Bears organization, for as long as I've been a fan, which is multiple decades, is they've never really developed a quarterback quite like that could either come in and be a starter or be a serviceable backup. I mean, I think Kyle Orton is maybe the only one in my mind that was a guy that didn't have the starter's role right away, came in as a backup and eventually developed into a piece that eventually turned into a Jay Cutler trade piece.
Right.
But it's been few and far in between for the Chicago Bears organization. So I think last one here for you, Matt, and I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. I just want to jump over to the college game a little bit, because the Bears are sitting 1-5. Their starting quarterback is hurt. The starting quarterback has been uneven in his play, or inconsistent to say the least. So I think the future is wide open for the Chicago Bears. If you had a number right now, how many college quarterbacks are out there right now that you would perhaps take over Justin Fields today if the NFL draft was today?
Ooh, man, you're really putting me on the spot with this one. That is a hell of a question. I like the fact that you didn't even say that to pre-show either. You didn't even give me any heads up about that. But no, that's okay. That's a really interesting take. It's always easy for us, I feel like, to say that, this college player, that college player, they're all better than, so-and-so that's in the league, and it's easy to say that. I feel like we said that the past 2 or 3 years with Ryan Tannehill. It's like, oh, they go get Malik Willis. All right, great. And then let's go get Will Levis. All right, great. Well, the problem is that Ryan Tannehill is still better than both of them. And that's the truth of it. And it's really easier to get Matt Hasselbeck said this on ESPN one day, and he was so right. It's way easier to get worse at the position of quarterback than it is to improve upon it. And that's so true. And a lot of it has to do with environment. And you see how I'm working around this question here? I'm really doing a great job of dodging and weaving.
I think you're bringing great perspective, though, because as a Bears fan right now, I am asking myself that question. Where, of course, Caleb Williams, I think everyone agrees, is a player that is definitely either worth the number 1 pick or has the type of talent to be someone that they would probably take over Justin Fields. Right. But my question, and I don't think I have the answer yet, Matt, is when we're talking about, look, Michael Penix is playing great right now.
No doubt.
Drake May, I like all the tangibles of Drake May, but I just can't sit here and say that those two guys are Shadur or Sanders. Are they really slam dunks over Justin Fields? I don't think I can honestly say that right now. And I think Bears fans are getting carried away with give us anybody but him.
Yeah.
And I'm cautioning people on that.
And I see that too. I would just say right now, you're not going to make the playoffs, Bears fans. So let's just fight through these tough, gritty weeks and find out who it is, Justin Fields and everyone else in between, who really is going to help the franchise forward. So that's why I don't want to write off Justin Fields too early yet. Now, have there's been things that he's done that really frustrate me? Absolutely. I think he still needs to get better as a thrower. He's a phenomenal athlete, but you see each and every year that he's in the league, the athletic aspect of him gets taken away just a little bit. As my father loves to say, the league gets faster, quarterbacks get slower, and it's true. So I don't want to write him off yet. He's a young man. He has all the potential in the world. I have all the faith and optimism that he can continue to get better at the position with repetition. But at the same time, yeah, he's got to show consistency late in the year when he does get healthy, which will be very difficult since he's being out. The other point that I want to add too, like just to give perspective to everybody, Justin Fields might be just as talented as Brock Purdy, maybe more, right? In a lot of ways and a lot of intangibles. But Brock Purdy clearly plays on the better football team. So we have to keep in perspective too that just when we're evaluating the position of quarterback, it always helps when you're on a really, really talented football team. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. He never played on a football team that was average by any means. He really wasn't. That was a really well-designed football team, great protection, great skill guys, a fantastic defense, great offensive coaching, defensive coaching. So we have to keep in mind just the whole picture of a football team, what makes teams successful. You look at every team in the NFL right now, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. The Chiefs' strength of the team right now is their defense and ability to run the football, not Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes is the equalizer in all of their tight games by making those 3 or 4 holy crap plays. But right now, their team is built on the success of other players having, a great ability to make plays for them. So right now, I would just say for the Bears, you have a lot of problems. Your quarterback is one of them. And we'll see as the season continues to progress, which one really is more true than the other.
It's been the season from hell, Matt. I'll tell you, man. I'm not into excuses, right? But lose your left tackle, your right guard doesn't start the season with you. Your left guard is on IR. You have the quarterback issues right there. There's been injuries across the board to your secondary. I mean, these are real NFL problems that every organization deals with. For, as you mentioned, to kind of bring it back full circle, you mentioned at the top, this team still is trying to build the depth of talent on this roster. And when you have those pieces taken away and a quarterback trying to develop, this is what you get. This is where you end up.
Happens. And this is why it's hard to build, a team that can last periods of time and be successful. We saw the Rams, they went all out. They won the Super Bowl. Well, they had that fallout, but here they are again, able to, recalibrate their football team with hitting on young prospects, filling in the holes with good free agency, and then great coaching. So it is a group effort, as cliche as it is, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link. And unfortunately for right now, the Bears, you have a lot of weak links, and, hopefully you have some time, the rest of the season to kind of figure out which ones will you keep and be more patient with to continue to allow them to grow in their positions and be successful. But the question really will be for the coaching staff too. Are you going to go down in flames with the team that you have on the field? Or are you going to make dramatic changes? Will management allow you to make those dramatic changes? So it'll be very curious to see how all that drama unfolds too.
Let's run it back one more time. Fourth time in 10 years. Matt Sims, thank you so much for joining BLEAV In Bears. Everyone, you can follow him at Sims Complete QB, or go to the website simscompleteqb.com. Matt, thank you so much for bringing your perspectives. It was a sobering dose for Bears fans that honestly, it's a little chaotic. We're kind of spiraling over here right now. So we really appreciate you coming on, and I really do hope we can bring you back with Corey and get former teammates reunited once more.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm sorry, Bears fans, please don't be angry at me. Just keep yelling at your own team. All right.
We're projecting right now. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with us. It is not your fault, Matt. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming on. Everyone, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back more with BLEAV In Bears. We're back here on BLEAV In Bears. We have a very special guest here to talk about Justin Fields, among other injuries on the Chicago Bears. He's been a pro football head team doctor for over 17 years. You can check out his wonderful contributions on places like FanDuel, SiriusXM, one of the homes of BLEAV In Bears, and Fox Sports Radio himself. He's Dr. David Chao. David, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thanks. I'm sorry for the delay. I'm going to borrow a line from Justin Pugh, not straight off the couch, straight out of the operating room. Just finished up an ACL. There was an additional meniscus tear. So straight out of the operating room, not straight off the couch. And that's my delay. I apologize.
Oh, that's quite all right. Let's hop you right into the Bears universe right now. The season hasn't gone quite the way that we thought it was going to go. So I'm not going to really ask you about offensive play calling, but I do want to know now about a very pressing issue involving our quarterback, Justin Fields. Doctor, I'm just going to tell you what I think Bears fans have heard and read on Twitter. And if you can extrapolate and get specific on it from that would be great. Justin Fields, from what we understand, dislocated his thumb, had to pop back into place, is having difficulty gripping the football right now. MRIs are negative. Nothing really more information has come out since then. So what can you tell the Bears fans a little bit about what Justin Fields is going through and what the extent of the injury could possibly be at this time?
Well, first of all, let me say that I've been a Bears fan in my time. I trained residency at Northwestern and with doctors that are now the Bears team physicians. And so I have the utmost respect for the Bears medical staff. They're going to do the right things. And I'm not second guessing anything. I'm just giving really first guess information because the doctors with HIPAA can't say anything about it. So nothing that I'm saying here is negative in any way. If anything, it's positive related to the Bears medical staff. And the final thing I'll promise you is, even though I know Dr. Neuber and Bowen have their cell phones, they would not answer a question from me on Justin Fields because of HIPAA, right? And quite honestly, if they did, I wouldn't be able to talk about Justin Fields anymore because of HIPAA. So this is all based, just for your fan base, on insider knowledge, not insider information. A big difference, right? One, you can make some money in the stock market. One gets you in jail by the SEC. But this is medical stuff. It's HIPAA. It's a little different. But looking at his injury, the way that he fell, we never thought from initially the command center of the war room that this was going to be a fracture. He didn't fall that hard. I think he actually got it caught somehow in the turf and then his belly and rolled up on it and dislocated his thumb. We did get a close-up, and if you go to the Twitter timeline or go to sicscore.com, Sports Injury Central, you see that his thumb tip was bent, but it was really the base that caused the tendons ligament. So this is more base of the thumb. Yeah, okay, there you got a mallet finger there. Not trying to diagnose you, but there you go.
Not good. Tendons. Softball.
Yeah, the barehanded catch and it hit the tip, right? Well, you better see someone, otherwise it's going to stay that way. But anyways, because it's a thumb dislocation and more at the base, this is why he couldn't return to play. I mean, I'm joking around here, but it's really true. I mean, what makes, in the world of evolution, right, the opposable thumb? Well, in the world of a quarterback, the opposable thumb is very important to be able to grip and throw a football. Like sometimes some quarterbacks have an index finger dominant grip. Some have a middle finger dominant grip and don't really need their index finger, but every quarterback needs their thumb. And if nobody holds a ball like this and is able to throw it and spin it, if you don't have your thumb, you cannot grip it. You cannot throw accurately. You cannot spin it. If you think about years ago, a couple years back, Drew Brees in New Orleans, and we were talking about an olecratal ligament injury when he couldn't pick up, and we said he would need surgery and come back. That's because you can't grip the ball. Now, Justin Fields is a little bit different. It was a dislocation. Here's what we are here to do, Joey, is to interpret coach speak or reporters, what they say, what the team say. We know I never accuse teams of being dishonest. They're playing the game. This is just the way that it works. If, as a Bears guy, you think back to Mitch Trubisky. Yes, a different regime, a different coaching staff. Mitch Trubisky coming up on Thanksgiving. Oh, he's good to go with his throwing shoulder injury. And we said he was not good to go with it. And sure enough, it came out later, your backup quarterback, Chase Daniel, his first start in the NFL, when a reporter later asked his wife, how was the week and how was it finally your husband getting to start? She said, it was a crazy week. My husband called me on Monday, postpone the Thanksgiving plans. You're going to Detroit. He knew on Monday that he was the starter, but that's just the game that is played in the NFL, legally so. Questionable, not giving all the information, and we're here to decipher that. There's no arrows slung at anyone for that. Everyone in the league does it to some extent. But the report of the MRI being negative is absolutely incorrect. There is no possible way that you can dislocate your thumb and have a completely normal MRI. Now, what they're probably saying is there's no associated fracture and there's no significant ligament tear that we're thinking about surgery. But imagine dislocating any joint and saying there's just no damage. It just doesn't work that way. But no damage to structures that need surgery is probably what they're saying. But we've been saying all along that, Justin Fields is probably in the best case scenario. And that best case scenario is avoid injured reserve and the 4 weeks. He hasn't avoided it yet because he could get on injured reserve late and still only miss the 4 games. But I think this is a multi-week issue. Now, I hope it's a multi-week issue short of injured reserve, and it remains to be seen, right? A team doesn't need to put him on. They could put him on Saturday and still get him to only miss the 4 games. So it remains to be seen. But I don't see him playing this week at all. I get that it's doubtful, and I think that it probably is beyond this 1 week. Yeah. Now, we hope he only misses 2-3 games and not 4 or more, but that's how important the thumb is to a quarterback to be able to grip it and rip it.
And so, Doctor, moving forward just for Justin Fields, this week obviously seems to be a bit in doubt, and hopefully he can make a speedy recovery. When he does, I think it might be safe to say that he may not be 100%. For Justin Fields, what are the obstacles for him when he gets back on the field? Is it mobility? Is it pain threshold? Is there anything that's going to, that he has to deal with that maybe fans might not see when they're watching the games?
Well, it's ability to have the strength to grip the ball without there being a lot of pain. It's very difficult to numb because you don't want your finger or your thumb numb to not be able to feel the ball. And the other thing to be careful of, and when he does come back, it's his right throwing hand, which means it's his top hand. This may mean a lot of shotgun because that snap comes up fast, right, against your top hand, right? And that's good. And I don't know a lot of quarterbacks that can take the snap the other way and adjust. And so with that, you may have a lot of shotgun happening there. And you also have to understand that even sometimes handoffs are not that difficult because are not that easy. You're supposed to stick that ball into the belly of the running back. If you think about it, years ago, Tom Brady, quote, dislocated his thumb in practice on a jet sweep practice right before the AFC Championship game, trying to a blind handoff turn into the wide receiver at running back's belly. So those are the things. It can affect him beyond just throwing. And this is why I think it's multiple weeks before he returns. If this were his non-throwing hand, it's a different story. If he were an offensive lineman, splint it, cast it up, let's go, right? If he was a defensive player, splint it, cast it up, let's go. So none of this is calling Justin Fields soft. I mean, he wanted to come back into the game. He just couldn't be effective doing so. And with that in mind and how important the thumb is, I don't see how this isn't multiple weeks.
Doctor, one more for you here on BLEAV In Bears. We're also dealing with some injuries on the offensive side of the ball. 2 players, Nate Davis and Khalil Herbert, who, look, both of them got off to slow starts this season, but both were major contributors in what was hopefully an offensive rejuvenation for the Bears over the last couple of weeks. Now Khalil Herbert's on IR with a high ankle sprain. I believe Nate Davis also is dealing with a high ankle sprain this week. I feel like fans always try and we have a hard time disseminating between the lower ankle and the high ankle sprain. What makes that injury so different, and what makes the return time and the recovery time a lot longer than maybe sometimes normal football fans would expect?
Well, first of all, there are different degrees of high ankle sprains and different degrees of low ankle sprains. And the lowest degree of a high ankle sprain can return more quickly than the highest degree of a low ankle sprain, if that makes any sense. But a low ankle sprain is what you typically do when you're playing basketball or indoor soccer or whatever sport, and your foot just rolls in. And then what do you typically do on the basketball court? If it's not too bad, you have high tops on, you lace your shoes up tighter, and you try and go. Now, if it's really bad, it's a different story, right? The high ankles, lacing up the high tops don't do it because of the mechanism. It's the major ligaments called the syndesmosis between the two bones, the tibia and the fibula, and it springs it open. Very hard to tape, and it swells less than a low ankle, but it hurts more and lingers, and very important to running and cutting and planting. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, Khalil Herbert. He's at least a grade 2 high ankle, if not grade 3. That's why the injured reserve. Nate Davis is the guy who works more in a box, but obviously, to be able to plant and shift weight and run block, move your feet, pass pro, it's a little bit of an ordeal. And obviously your Bears backfield running backs, you're down to new ads, right? And Roschon Johnson, as of this, I don't think is yet to be on track to even return from his concussion. So that remains to be seen. But right now, we're a little iffy still for another week with him.
Real quick, before we get you out of here, I'm so happy to hear that you grew up, you studied in the Northwestern area. You've considered yourself a Bears fan, as I. What do you have for a football broken heart right now? Because this season, Doctor, is not going well at all. Do you have anything for me? Because I'm just, this heart right here is, I might have multiple fractures right now with this Bears organization.
Let me tell you what I have for you, okay, and my love for the Bears. No one can, I don't know, you may not even have been alive, but no one can take away the 85 Bears in the Super Bowl shuffle, right? And believe it or not, I was in Chicago during that time, and 85 Bears, and no secret here, but we've had the Punky QB on our podcast this summer, Jim McMahon, going back into the day there. So no one can take that away. Look, I was obviously with the San Diego, now LA Chargers. I'm in a much worse position than you are. My son growing up in San Diego doesn't even have a football team, and we don't even have the memory. And we don't even have the memory of a Super Bowl, okay? You at least have a football team, and you have the memory of a Lombardi, right? So no one can take that away. But I don't want to hear about how the Bears are in the doldrums here. San Diego is way worse off. So when you look at the guy, look at me, you should be happy about what your rooting situation is.
A lesson I never thought I was going to get from you, Doctor, today is just to make sure that no matter how low things get, look around and appreciate what you've got, and then move forward and step out that door and start a new day. Dr. David Chao, thank you so much for joining us. This guy is a must follow. You can follow him at Pro Football Doc. Listen to him on FanDuel, Fox Sports Radio, Sirius XM. Doctor, man, such a pleasure. Thank you for bringing the knowledge to the show.
And the podcast, the Sports Injury Central podcast, is on the BLEAV Network now.
Absolutely. We're teammates. Look at this.
There you go.
Fantastic. Great stuff.
All right.
Doctor, thank you so much for coming on. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for today's BLEAV in Bears episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us at betonline.ag. Plenty more coming with Corey Wooten for another episode previewing Bears Raiders coming up this week, so make sure you stick around for that. Be well, be safe. Please be good to each other. Remember, we still got a Bear.